jump right to it, shall we? We're playing some Sultai Ramp to start things off today. This is a viewer submission. So we've got a few different rampy things. We've got some Florahedrons and some Innkeepers here at the bottom end of the curve. We've got some Quandrix Cultivators as we go up a little bit higher, as well as Binding of the Old Gods. We've got Wrenn and Seven, Koma, as well as Alrund as payoffs. In a way, Memory Deluge is a type of payoff if you think about it. Like, this gets up to 7 mana and then lets you dig pretty deep. There's a small touch of learn here. So we have 3 learn spells and we've got 3 cards in the sideboard as things to learn for. While this feels like a lot of sideboard slots at a glance for just 3 learn cards, it is worth noting that, like, with Memory Deluge, we're going to dig pretty deep into our deck, so our odds of seeing one of these is pretty relevant, and this becomes like a remand unsummon that then draws 2 to 3 cards, so it seems pretty reasonable. So let's go ahead and dive on into some games with this and see how it feels this morning. Morning, Captain. Oh, is Croaky's doing something similar? This was a viewer submission for us. Playing a bunch of good cards, though, so I have to imagine it's going to be pretty reasonable. Hey, thanks for the support, Otts. I'd be happy to get a Cleric's build around going. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see where Standard ends up. Because I definitely think some arms racy type situations where these decks try to outgreed each other is something we could see. But at the same time, there are pretty decent aggressive tools in this format. Like, I think Redeem specifically is a card that's pretty good in the format. I wouldn't be surprised to see more of that in the coming weeks. Wayworn Cypress, thanks for the 33 months. Welcome back. Agreed. They missed their 3rd land drop. That's good for us. I think I'm just taking this hit. And we'll divide by 0 their 3 drop. Yeah. Would a containment breach make sense? I mean, again, like, there's only 3 learned spells in my deck. And your sideboard slots are valuable in best of 3. So spending too many resources on learn cards is not great. I want Meathook here too. So this can attack as a 5 next turn with the Ranger's class. So I think what I want to do is Cultivator into Environmental Sciences. This grabs a land untapped. And then that sets us up to Meathook Massacre for 5 the following turn. I'll get to draw a card with this turn, but I'll get to jump block. Blizzard Brawl is definitely the card that makes this mono green deck tick. That's actually kind of scary. Just gonna let them reflood the board relatively quickly here. Yeah, I think Massacre sounds great. We get to gain a little bit of life. They can put a 3-drop into play here. They just scried. That's good for us. And then with them not putting anything into play off of Search of Greatness, hopefully Koma just takes over the game from here. I mean, as someone who played with a lot of Black Sun Zenith when that card was legal, in a number of ways, Meathook Massacre is much better than Black Sun. Which control deck? I think it's too early to be picking control decks. We played Grixis and it felt fine, but yeah, I don't. Does green have a card that deals with Koma? I mean, they can fight it if I don't have a Serpent up. Hey, thanks for the 5 months, Galab. This attack seems loose. Do they not know what Koma does? They have some kind of combat trick for 1 mana I'm not thinking of. Sure.
They prepare for war.
Alright, and I think we're into garbage time here at this point. We have multiple serpents, we have a large tree folk. I think we probably sack a snake to tap down adversary this turn. Hey, Choice, thanks for the 26 months. Welcome back. Yeah, we've achieved bigger fish status is a good solid way to put it. So Meathook seems great here. Oh god. Calling Ritual seems kind of nutty, huh? That seems fun. We trim some Epiphany and then just like cut around the edges up here. What's Harness Infinity doing there? I assume just living its best life. This might be a loose keep on the draw. I love the tap my layer of the Hydra for auto pass value. Our opponent is a Magic Arena player of culture, chat. That was busted. You could argue that my stream's kind of the OG net decking stream, because my entire stream gimmick is literally playing decks off the internet that people have sent me. This does still cost 3 mana to someone commenting that Culling Ritual would kill this. Yeah, it's 2 or less. Yeah, it tags Ranger class, but I don't have anything to do here, just a lot of lands. Probably jump with the Innkeeper this turn. This card is so good. That was not the Meathook Massacre I wanted for Christmas, chat. Alright, well that hand didn't really pan out. The Culling Rituals should all be copies of Meathook. Well, Magic Arena frowns upon playing more than 4 copies of a card. These Epiphanies, just put my cheaper cards back in. Now, a better question that acknowledges what's actually in our deck list is, Jeff, do we need to play 7 sweepers? Is it worth playing that effect in addition to the Meathook Massacres? To which the answer is, I don't know. It could be right to just play like some 2 or 3 mana removal spells in those slots. I could see that being very reasonable. The 4, 5, 6, so I can't do both of these. I think this is a land this game. I mean, Culling Ritual is the type of card that Twitch chat has a really hard time evaluating in my experience, because it's just such a blowout when it's good. Like, it's like the textbook definition of a 2 or 10 card, right? Like, when it's good, it's absurd, and when it's bad, it's fucking terrible. Yeah, it's a feast or famine card. There's also a bit of a play style preference in do you want to play a card like that, or do you want to play something that's a little bit more consistent? Like, do you want to play, do you want more 6 to 8s in your deck, or do you want more 2 or 10s? Koma, chameleon. Do, 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 do. You know, it's kind of funny in a sad sort of way that, excuse me, that Koma has ended up being pretty mediocre against most interactive decks, and it's actually pretty good against the other creature-based decks in the format, right? Because, like, even, like, the blue-red interactive decks get to play Burning Hands to kill Koma. And, like, obviously black and white have spot removal as well. So the decks that Koma really excels against are the ones that want to play to the board. It's fine. This deck list definitely feels like a byproduct of this format becoming a bit greedy. Like, if you look at this deck and you look at the amount of action that it has before the 4th turn of the game, it's incredibly low. What's going on, Joel? Thanks for the follow. We'll see if they level Ranger's class here or not. Ranger class is actually very good against Meathook. Start is very good here. Yikes. Yikes. Oh, it's night now. Yeah, I guess I'm just supposed to bounce this on my turn, huh? I feel like the green-red decks are pretty good at punishing people. The format's still pretty new, Eastabus. So White Weenie was a thing in the format before Innistrad happened. But we haven't really had, we had like one tournament. Thoughts on control in this format? I think it's too early in the format to know what types of decks are good and what types of decks aren't. We're probably dead here, right? Like, I gained 3 off of this, but they have 4, 5, 6, 7 power in play, so any other creature here kills us. Yeah, I had, like, some passing interest in the Diablo remaster. And then all the bullshit with Activision Blizzard happened. And, like, I went from, like, passing interest to, like, nah, there's other games I can put my money and time into. Well, definitely feels like a culling ritual matchup. I don't know. I'm definitely a subscriber to the school of thought of, you know, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, and most of these companies suck. Most of them are doing awful things in awful ways, and the way I look at it is with something like Diablo is like, well, if I was like super gung-ho for Diablo and I lived for Diablo, I'd probably just play it because, like, you know, otherwise I'm giving some other shitty company my money and my time, right? They're all shitty companies, but like, if I'm not really interested in it, using this company sucks extra bad as a tiebreaker to go do something else is an easy call. I don't know. It's like, it's like, you know, just to give an example, like, there were all the issues with very clear systemic racism inside of Wizards of the Coast. Then there's all the issues Riot Games has had over the years. And then you like mix in nicely that like Tencent has a hand in basically every gaming company, which is effectively owned by the Chinese government. And it's just like, it's all just awful all the way down. Which, by the way, if you haven't spent time watching The Good Place, one, I don't know what you're doing with your life, but two, you should make time to watch that. Not only is it incredibly funny, but the underlying message and questions that it asks and like, I didn't go into that show expecting it to ask the question that it was asking or pose what it was going to ask, and like, I was very pleased as a dirty, filthy liberal that where it ended up at. When I think of the green-black snow deck I posted last night, I think it seems very reasonable. I think it checks a lot of the boxes you want to check. Rather not support the ones that are known to be awful, but at least have plausible deniability. I don't know. Like, all the big ones have known to be awful at this point. Even Wizards, like. I don't think I'm culling ritualing yet. The question is, am I innkeepering before I culling ritual? The answer to that question is a firm maybe. Nah, I'm just gonna pass. Am I? Yeah, I'm just gonna pass. Has EA ever had a big scandal? Is EA not owned by Activision? Are they different companies? So many companies are subsidiaries these days. So I think we're just calling into red now, right? Is it bad of me to say being anti-consumer is just the norm for video games in 2021? Like, that's not really news, right? That's just like the normal. Okay, untap black source, please.
We can foster much growth here.
The games against aggro are much easier when we're on the play chat. EA is a public company with no parent. Thanks for the fact check. I appreciate you. It feels very peak current standard to see the mouse over Wrenn and Seven for a split second and then concede. Catch you in a bit, Tobias. It's just one of those like, yep, that does exactly what I think it does. Never beaten that. All right, now I gotta try and be on the draw here. Innkeeper into Calling Ritual. Sign me up, fam. It's a sneepa keepa do 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 sneepa keepa. We played a Delver deck? Yeah, of course we played a Delver deck. You think chat would have let me make it over a week into release without losing with Delver? Come on now. We played Delver in both standard and historic. You find the videos up on YouTube. Hey, Campfire, thanks for the prime. Appreciate the support. Welcome to the channel. What's going on, Turf Doctor? Good morning, good morning. Thanks for the support. Yeah, I really must say I truly appreciate the opponent's a true gamer. Just like the tap layer of the Hydra for auto pass value is just like A+ Magic the Gathering. Although I must say, the fact that this gives you priority to activate it when it literally says X can't be 0, so it's not a legal activation, is pretty peak Magic Arena. I actually sent you an email back, Xanthias, and said that would be great. So thanks for the support. I'd be happy to get that rolling. I really appreciate the bets. Would you like that up? I could have that up tomorrow, or would you prefer it sometime next week? Let me know. Feeling pretty dead again here, huh? I can like culling the Magda. I guess we're just culling the Magda to stem the bleeding, huh? I guess I could Tangled Florahedron to stem the bleeding similarly, but them getting more treasures. Clearing the treasures out feels like it has some value. I could Wrenn? Yeah, a 4/4 is not very good though, right? I can do this here and flip this back at least. If you want. Awesome. It'll be up tomorrow then. Now, the real scary part here is our opponents are missing their land drops, so like, they have 3 more spells in their hand here. They're gonna be dead to their burning hands. So, really want to draw a Meathook Massacre. How about a culling ritual? Well, I'm dead on board if I play Wrenn and Seven, so I guess we do this. If you kill more than 2 things, you get to do this. It's actually a pretty decent interface. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this deck really needs. I feel like this deck really needs some spot removal for these games on the draw. Your first play just being culling ritual or binding is just so slow. It feels like you can just never win when you're on the draw. Yeah, I did a patch review video, Python, that posted yesterday morning. That goes over the balance changes they did, as well as gives a cursory glance at the first 3 items. The new 3 items. New unsummon's been good for you. I mean, playing unsummon in my colors that have access to like real removal seems loose. Like if you're not in black, unsummon seems fine, but just like playing power word kill seems better. I think power word kill is an excellent removal spell in this format. Yeah, Divide by Zero's like okay at buying time. Yeah, I agree, Pelly. I actually think there's a good chance this current Unite Balance patch is likely going to be the worst that they've had in the 2.5 months the game's existed. Not balancing Lucario was a huge mistake. We tried to play some 5 stacks last night, and we ran into that. Lucario top 3 bottom every time, and it just makes so many things unplayable. Chat, it's going to be a massacre. All right, but what if I greed and kill the chariot with the binding? Can I greed and kill the chariot with the binding? It's been 17 months, J-Dubs. What are your thoughts on the comparison between Nissa and Wrenn and Seven? I mean, I haven't heard anyone make that comparison before just now, and it sounds completely idiotic. Like, those cards really aren't comparable at all. Yeah, like, I guess they're both 5-mana planeswalkers that start at 5 loyalty, right? That's where the comparison ends. Like that's literally the only thing that's comparable about them. They have the same converted mana cost and loyalty. Yeah, what they do fundamentally in terms of the game is very different. I guess you could make the roundabout argument that they both technically ramp for you. You could say that. You could say, okay, these cards both ramp, I suppose, but yeah, I don't really think those cards are remotely comparable. My children's school just closed for an indefinite amount of time because 140 kids out of 390 currently tested positive for COVID. Is it a stretch to do it? What? Do you live in a southern state? Did your, actually, less pointed question than location. Did your school have a mask mandate? Yeah, we need another massacre like last turn. I will just say that my kids are currently almost 4 weeks into being back to school. And we haven't had any closures yet. They've had quarantines, but not closures. You're in Michigan. Do they not mandate masks for schools in Michigan? They didn't. Wow. Yeah, almost assuredly calm breaths. So this is land number 8. And then this fetches an untapped land so I can Wrenn and Seven. And then Wrenn and Seven can technically plus into finding us a flashback spell, which can then dig us for a Meathook Massacre. The policy for my local district is we have a mask mandate, but if a kid tests positive, the only other kids they quarantine are the kids that eat lunch with that child, because lunch is the only time those kids don't have their masks off around each other, which I don't know strictly how I feel about that. It's better than nothing, I suppose, though. Overall, the district has gone, the school year has gone relatively well so far. They're playing Meathook plus Gut Swarm is interesting. Yeah, it definitely feels like we're getting bigger fished, which honestly, the fact that our deck can get bigger fished kind of feels like a knock against it. Because, like, if we're getting bigger fished, but we're also getting run down by decks getting under us, like, kind of like, what are we doing with our lives? Yeah, like, yeah, the ramp deck is like, we should be the one going bigger, right? And it almost feels like, well, if you're trying to do a big thing and you're not storming the festival here, you're probably coming up short. Hey, Canned Monkey, thanks for the 3 months. Welcome back. All right, yeah, and we're dead to their Meathook, huh? I'm gonna let it resolve. Kill me. Get me. Knowing how students, university wears masks, I doubt kids in school will not wear it only during eating. So, a comment like that actually tells me that you probably don't have a lot of experience with small children, because in general, small children tend to like follow rules much better than like teenagers and even adults do when those rules are laid out, especially in things like school. I actually would expect like my like my 6 and 7 year old to wear their masks better and more consistently. Also, like, small children love tattling when people do things that they're not supposed to be doing. So like, I believe my 6 and 7 year old when I ask them a couple of times a week, hey, are kids and the teachers like wearing their masks like they're supposed to, that they say yes. Also, like, you know, children aren't political creatures. So like, you know, my small children don't think that wearing a mask is a big deal, and most children don't, because it's not a fucking big deal to put a piece of cloth over your face. In fact, if you want a scorching hot fucking take about masks, if you have a hard time breathing in a mask full time, you probably have an underlying health condition that makes getting exposed to COVID extra dangerous for you, and you should limit your contact with the outside. Thanks for the follow, Houston Bieber. All right, so I think maybe I do want the Epiphanies in here. Yeah, like doctors and surgeons have worn masks through their entire work shift for like decades. Easier hands you get to keep at the ramp deck. You just like, gonna draw a bomb diggity or two down the line. Makes me wish I could subscribe twice a month. Well, to self-shill, there is a tier 2 option. Thanks for the tier 2, Natterjack. Appreciate the 39 months. All right, so I think I messed up that first game by pulling the trigger on Meathook too aggressively too early. So I think we're gonna sandbag this until they have like a lethal amount of things in play. I'm gonna go ahead and get in here with this one. Someone asked a question during Sideboard that I glossed over while ranting. The Scut Swarm tokens are token copies of the creature itself. So they are 3 converted mana costs, which is why my Culling Ritual stayed in the board. I am not convinced that Culling Ritual is the ideal extra sweeper. I'm also not convinced that I want more than 4 sweepers to begin with. Yeah, sensory stuff's a little bit different, right? Like, material sensitivity is different than the people that are like, oh, I can't breathe because there's a piece of fabric on my face. If you have a Meathook and they had a Meathook, how does it work? So, triggers happening simultaneously have the active player's triggers go on the stack first, and then the non-active player's triggers go on the stack underneath. So if it's my opponent's turn, my Meathook triggers resolve first, and if it's my turn, their Meathook triggers resolve first. First in, last out, active player's triggers resolve last. Yeah, we might try that lure. I think some power word kills would probably make the red-green matchup better. So they used binding on my binding. And I drew another binding, so I kind of feel like... I want a binding their binding back since I drew another one. I don't think I'd have pulled the trigger on this if I only had one of these, but with like another one in hand here, I think we just like take the ramp. For the follow, MP Galvo. I think we're supposed to save it. I'm pretty sure we're supposed to save it. But it's a stone raid. It is kind of a stone raid. Wow, super punished. Morning, Cessius. Wait, did they just Scut Swarm with no land? I mean, I gotta kill this, right? Yeah, we're almost assuredly gonna need multiple Hoaglandia ones, but Megas. Also, like, there's a Google Doc in the subs Discord that people add friends codes to, so if you want to use that too to find groups, or just like use the Discord. I usually just tag people in the subs Discord. Which, speaking of, I'm looking for a 5th Masters player to play Pokemon Unite with tomorrow. I have me and 3 others. If you're a Masters player who would like to play some ranked with me on stream tomorrow, slide into my DMs on Discord. I mean, if you play Lucario, that's a plus. If you play Lucario, that's a plus. So, you actually can't do a 5 squad with people under veteran rank when you're Masters. And I would prefer people be in Masters just because while I don't think Masters guarantees that you are a good player, I think it means you have at least have a base mechanical understanding of your micro. Yeah, mobile release yesterday. They had a big balance patch in mobile release. So, actually can't play with people under veteran even if we wanted to.
The entire forest is an army.
Alright, so the good news about this last Memory Deluge is now we're not drawing those lands. So hopefully we'll find some gas in our next 7 cards. This card's real sweet. Now, the unfortunate part is we need to beat their current board plus the Storm the Festival flashing back. So I have 12 mana. So if I Deluge this turn, I could cast a Wrenn and Seven as well. So I think we just do this at sorcery speed. God, these were such bad deluges. Yeah, I guess we take the birds, but I'm not excited about it, chat. Then I'm gonna go ahead and throw this one in the corner, so that way they can't discard spell it out of our hands. Honestly, playing Unite with randoms is a lot like playing Magic. It teaches you to just, like, accept variance and let go of the things you can't control. You gotta learn to roll with the punches and just be like, nah, sometimes you get got.
Rich soil grows mighty forests.
Kayan, thanks for the follow. Flunge. So, if I divide by 0 this Scut Swarm, I can kill the Wrenn and Seven. Is that worth it? It means it's not in play for me to Meathook Massacre next turn. Well, you can't divide the token. This says mana value 0. This is not a Scut Swarm token, it's an insect token, which is a little confusing to be fair. What do I care about killing more, the Scut Swarm or the Wrenn? I think I care about killing the Scut Swarm more. Well, I want to Meathook this turn. Oh my gosh, I get to have my cake and eat it too, chat.
Other groves to tell.
Goodbye, friends. Up, down, life's like a jump rope. Doot, 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 doot. This layer of the Hydra about to show me what's up? Feels like it. That's a new song? I feel like I've had to have hummed Jump Rope at some point. My tune was pretty bad, especially because I'm sick, but can anybody name that band? It's one of my favorite bands back in undergrad. The Beatles, stop it. You've hummed it before, but never sung that much. Yeah, that's probably accurate. Someone say Beatles. I was waiting for my intro. What's going on, Beetle? Thanks for the 51 months, and thanks for the tier 3. Welcome back. These creature lands are giving us the business chat. Meathook versus their skeletal swarming is also a little rough. One full Hoglandian for baby legs. I think we double blocked the layer here, right? Hey, thanks for the Prime Link Betweens. I think Hydra is better than Hall of the Storm Giants for this deck. I don't know if I have a strong preference there. Morning, no legs. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8. So we can activate the hall this turn, which is nice. I'm not really sure how we beat this skeletal swarming, though. Hey, thanks for the biddies, Beetle.
Underestimate the forest. The will of the woods is made manifest.
It's only game 2. Yeah, there's not going to be a game 3, though. Yeah, that kind of just felt like we got bigger fish there. Which, it's actually kind of interesting to me, and because this wasn't something I would have predicted, but it kind of feels like Alrund's Epiphany isn't really the biggest thing you can be doing in this format, which is nice. I really dislike playing against this card. It's very annoying. It does work, Sinestro. And it was Blue October. They're an oldie. It's one of my wife's favorite bands. Back when we were both in college, went to a number of concerts that they did. Did our Go Big deck get punked by a mid-range deck? I mean, I wouldn't call the Storm the Festival decks mid-range decks. They're definitely ramp decks. So like, our ramp deck got beat by a bigger ramp deck. Hey, they definitely have a lot of angry music. Is a good descriptor. Grab our second blue with this. Yeah, Goldspan taking a back seat because of Wrenn is nice. That went predictably how we expected it to. Yeah, well, thanks for lurking, Turtle Beat. Hope your Thursday's going well. I think the biggest thing is some variation of what our last opponent was doing. I think Wrenn plus Storm the Festivals is pretty big. Alright, getting the board gummed up here. Block this too, just so they can't use a pump spell to kill Wrenn. Because they definitely could have attacked this to guaranteed lethal, and they didn't, so it feels like they have some kind of trick here. I feel like Skeletal Swarming stock went up a lot with the addition of Meathook Massacre. Those two together really work well. Well, that could have gone better for us. I think Score Shield is a must play on Lucario. Really gives you score shield gives you so much survivability in the early games. You just like dunk on people. Is Esper today or tomorrow? No, we're gonna lose some games. I mean, play some Esper control today. Bye, friends. Yeah, my build before these most recent items on Lucario was double ban Score Shield. Massacre, chat. It's a massacre. I'm glad we queued into an aggro deck. We could try out our power word kills here. I think Alrund's Epiphany is pretty bad in this matchup. We'll cut those. Extra Binding's probably not very good, actually. Let's try this. I think I want to try giving up Focus Band for Razor Claw and see if you can get by with just Score Shield in the early game. Worth testing, at least. Thanks for the follow, Picano. I mean, I think dragons is fine. I also think, like, building dragons, you can build dragons without Goldspan Dragon right now. Like, the fact that Goldspan Dragon's kind of getting held back by Wrenn and Seven doesn't mean you can't play dragons. Smoldering Egg is very good, for example. It's a great dragon. I watched the previous 2 Nintendo Directs, and I'm gonna be honest, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not the type of target audience for most Switch games, but they've always seemed real mediocre. Which I could believe I'm just not the target audience for Nintendo games anymore. I think I do this before I power word kill. But Jeff, anime games. I mean, the PlayStation is the anime console to me. Like, did you see the, what was it, Eve 6 spoiler? Like, that was like pretty peak anime. One massacre, please. It definitely feels like we've been all dressed up with nowhere to go in a significant number of these games too. Just a lot of mana and nothing to do. Great. Well, there's the hooks. I love whenever Breath of the Wild comes up organically, because it gives me an opportunity to say how bad of a game it is to piss off people that like it. We have not played Charizard's deck from the ladder, no. You saying that ironically or genuinely? Genuinely, I think if you asked me to pick out a game with some of the worst game design out of the last whatever amount of time, that game would be towards the top of the list. And here, I'll back up my subjective statement with why my opinion is what it is. In my opinion, the big appeal of open world games is that open world games allow a player, generally speaking, to play the game how they want to play it. And the item durability in that game is a giant middle finger to players wanting to play the game how they choose to play it. Weapon durability is the game designer saying, no, you have to play the game this way. This is the way our game is intended to be played.
Come, Seven. It is time from root to canopy. The
Catch you
trees
later,
of
Lur.
the mighty.
And I know there's plenty of people that like the item durability stuff, but I don't want my game to dictate to me how I'm supposed to enjoy it. I like the puzzles. The puzzles were great. It's a pretty good puzzle game. So there, what's another good puzzle game? It's up there with Hellblade in terms of the quality of the puzzles. Thanks for the follow, Pure to God. Yeah, if you're not someone, if you've never played the game Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, you should take some time to play it, or you should go back and watch my playthrough on YouTube if you don't have time to play it yourself. The game's not that long. I think it's like sub 10 hours, and it's got some really excellent gameplay. I am not playing Mascot Exhibition in my sideboard because the person that sent me the deck list wasn't playing it.
Even in defeat, we grow.
We just seen another blocker, right? I will say there is a psychological trauma / triggers warning at the beginning of Hellblade, and you should take that very seriously if you're someone that has issues grappling with those types of topics, because the game does explore those topics pretty deeply. It does them in a good way, but things can be triggering for some people. Yeah, we're supposed to be getting a Hellblade 2 at some point. Alright, so this is... so I have 10 lands. So if I do this, it'll be land number 11, which then lets me flashback Memory Deluge. We might be stabilizing here. How was Standard been? Standard in general has felt very reasonable a weekend, Crimson. We have some role players coming to the front, but it feels like the metagame is definitely still developing. The average gameplay seems to care about combat a good deal, which that's my number one for is a format reasonable, is like, does combat feel relevant? The Memory Deluge of Grilovia. Yeah, 100% J-dubs. Yeah, I'm not playing Mascot Exhibition, the sideboard, because the person that sent me the deck list wasn't playing it. I also don't really know that I like the learn cards in general in here. Giving up sideboard slots feels kind of bad. Honestly, I think it's just like Innkeeper Koma here to stabilize, right? We'll probably bounce this Ranger class at the end of their turn. We want to wait till the end of their turn so they can't replay it right away. Oh, God. I guess I have Goldspan covered by... Oh. Yeah, Moonveil's kind of scary. It also shuffles their deck, so Rangers class lets them cast stuff now. I mean, if there's a creature on top of their deck that they can cast, these two generate a lot of card advantage together. Not a creature on top. It's pretty unlucky for them. All right. Yeah, I think I'm kind of whelmed on the divide by 0. So make a couple of small adjustments here and then play one more match before we call it a day. So I think I want to get rid of these divide by 0s. I think I'm basically hoping to draw Meathook Massacre in almost every game that I'm playing. So I'm going to go ahead and play the 4th copy in the main deck. And I think a blue-green card that's a little bit underplayed right now is Quandrix Command. This card not only counters Azeka's Chariot, but it bounces Wrenn and Seven tokens. It's randomly a combat trick. It's graveyard hate that you can main deck. So I think playing a couple of these in the main deck makes a lot of sense. And then cutting those other ones gives us a bunch of sideboard slots here. So I can get up. I think I just want the ability to have, like, the thing that's so important with decks like this is surviving to get to the late game, and having a bunch of cheap ways to do that seems really, really pretty important. Yes, I would definitely take a submission for the black-white control list. I think it looks great. Do I just want, like, some other pieces of spot removal in here to stay alive? I assume the Harness and the Mordenkainens are for other grindy decks. I think a 5th Sweeper in Shadow's Verdict. Fading Hope. Like, again, playing cards like this when you could just be playing removal. Like, Unsummon is fine. Like, Quandrix Command is a bounce spell that we don't mind playing because it has other utility. But, like, in general, if my deck has access to black mana, I don't want to play Unsummons. I want to play actual kill spells. Esper Control is actually the deck we're going to be playing in the match after this one. We're going to do Esper Control and then Green-White Humans as our 2nd and 3rd deck today. We're going to be doing all standard today. Because, unsurprisingly, this standard format is gas, so it's the format I've had the most deck submissions for. I think this is a land against what's likely blue-black control. I lied. It's not blue-black control. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we've activated their trap card. Okay, look at the way they massacred my boy, champ. Hey, thanks for the biddies, Duck Doolittle. That's a big donation, so you can have your choice. Would you like to cut Black-White Control in to be the next deck we play today, rearranging that schedule that I just talked about? Or would you want to see it played tomorrow or any other day next week? You can pick. So, I think there's a good chance this is a counterspell. So I'm going to lead on Binding here. Because I think any removal spell I cast here is about to get countered. And then this hopefully makes Meathook resolve next turn. Elder Deep Friend is one of the many cards. Can it be the second deck tomorrow? It definitely can be. So yeah, we'll start at about 9:30, 9:45 tomorrow. So, what if I try and bait with Alrund's Epiphany here? Because if they don't have a counterspell, it just resolves and then my birds die. But if they do have a counterspell, they might counterspell it and then my Meathook Massacre could resolve the following turn. Don Blib, thanks for the brand new Prime support. I appreciate the support. Cast Explore. Goodbye, friend. Goodbye, friends. Whenever a creature you control becomes blocked, you can bounce it to your hand. Using Epiphany to check for counterspells sounds like those birds are canaries. What do you think about Decisive Denial in a Simic aggro list? I would wonder if making your mana base worse in the mono green deck is worth whatever you're gaining from that effect. I think Epiphany tends to be quite bad against aggro. We're basically just boarding into more of a one-for-one control deck here now. It gives the better position to be in with these as finishers. Someone asked about Esper Witch. That'll be up either tomorrow or Monday, most likely. Definitely not today. Today we're going to be doing Esper Control and Green-White Humans after this one. Mail, baby, mail. Does Esper Witch have the Leonin Magecraft guy? I don't know, I haven't built it yet. I don't know that I want to do anything Pokemon related for an emote. Nintendo is kind of internet famous for, let's say, protecting its IP rights aggressively, even with artist rendition sometimes. So it seems like a loose decision to potentially utilize something in a emote that uses their IP. I know there's a lot of other people on Twitch that do that, but I tend to be a bit more cautious with this being my job than other people. Right on time, Power Word Kill. Welcome to the party. Well, so the Poke Lucario emote, that's actually an official Twitch emote, so I'd assume they have permission to use that. Well, so Nintendo backed off in recent years from not wanting streamers to make content. They at least finally got enough with the times to understand that that makes them money. This is probably a Shadows Verdict in matchup, thinking about it. Well, so in Nintendo's defense, I think using Nintendo's, I am not a lawyer, but using Nintendo's IPs to like make money off of Twitch emotes that you're selling via a Twitch sub, I think that's like kind of defensible in terms of protecting your IP from people using it in a way you don't want them to. That's a very, very different territory than like going after people for streaming your games or something like that. Which is actually funny. Whenever the internet lawyers like to pop up with their shitty opinions about like, you know, they'll be like, whenever streaming music on Twitch comes up, there's always some idiot who pops up with what they think is a clever actually, and they're like, but Jeff, you don't have permission to stream the video games you're streaming, just like you don't have permission to stream music. It's like, actually, you little internet fucko, almost every modern video game gives you explicit permission in the end user license agreement to stream it on Twitch these days. I'm sure there's some small little edge cases where that's not the case and it doesn't explicitly give it, but like Magic Arena, for example, explicitly gives permission to make content with it. And that's the norm for video games in 2021. It is the rule, not the exception, that you can make content. Second blue source is nice, even if it came into play tapped. So casting this now, so stowaway doesn't get stowed away. Purchasing the NFT for Internet Fucko with the $1.69 donation. Do I read the entire EULA? Usually I skim the highlights. I've read enough of them that I know what to look for the things that tend to be relevant to my job. Yeah, song, media, stream, content. Those are all good keywords to look for. It's a massacre, chat. Just a total massacre. Listen, chat, all I'm gonna say is we get to have our pudding here. I think we just let them draw a card with this and Deluge. I'm gonna do this now. That's fine. They had to burn their treasure to do that. We got a kind of a 1 for 0, and they burned a treasure. Welcome to the Space Jam. Get ready to slam.
We prefer not to fight, but trees can fight their own battles.
So, they can actually kill Wrenn and Seven here. And they can bounce this back to their hand when I block it. So, I think we're still pretty far ahead, but... Oh, wait, they're not killing Wrenn and Seven? Deal. Take your card, I'll keep my Planeswalker. I'm feeling better for my cold? I am not. Well above average. So I have 9 lands. So if I Meathook for 2... So if I Meathook for 2, I don't get to... I don't get to Deluge this turn. I think I want to Deluge this turn. Ballistic Whiskey, thanks for the 11 months. Welcome back. I'll take a blocker, and I think I'll take a backup Wrenn and Seven. Casting Memory Deluge is incredibly satisfying. Dig through time style effects are sweet. Hey, thanks for the 22 months, Washington. Good morning, good morning. There's a number of decks that have felt sweet the first time God Baron, but we literally haven't played any decks for 2 sessions yet, just because there's been so many different things to try. So I bet I probably won't have a running favorite until sometime next week. I'll probably get back around to playing things for 2nd and 3rd times next week. Third's ambitious. 2nd times next week. It's been okay. I don't know that I'm a fan of the strictly rampy portions of the deck. Like we're playing a number of good cards, but I don't know that I really love the mix of what we're doing. Wait, is Dead Guy Ale no longer on my site? I believe it was just demoted. I think I kicked it down to the fan favorite section. Did I get rid of it entirely? If I got rid of it entirely, that was a mistake. It looks like I might have taken it down entirely. It should have been demoted. Mid-range decks just aren't good in Historic. Open my notes file and make a note to fix that. So, overall, I was pretty whelmed by this deck. I think just like... So, one of the things that you need to be able to take a look back at and ask yourself is, when I was flooding, was I getting unlucky, or was my deck built in a way that causes it to flood? And if we look here, we not only have 26 lands, but I have 4 Tangled Florahedron, 4 Innkeeper, and 4 Quandrix Cultivator, honestly, as a way too that's mostly just mana. And this deck's basically 38 pieces of mana. Almost 2/3 of our deck is mana. So us flooding in a number of those games was a symptom of deck design more so than bad variance in a lot of ways. And I really feel like if I wanted to play Sultai, rather than trying to build this as a linear deck, I've had an idea that we're probably going to get to next week that I was kicking around, that I think something like this, where instead of being rampy, you're like blue-black control with a splash of green utility cards, things like Binding to answer problem permanence and Wrenn as a threat and Quandrix Command for each other. I think an approach like this is probably better for Sultai. You know, you just don't have the problem where you have, you know, this deck is on 24 plus 4, so you have 28 lands, but 4 of them are spells, etc. So I think this approach is what I would prefer for Sultai. Not only is this build prone to flooding, but it felt like our payoffs just weren't quite good enough in a lot of situations. You know, Koma often died, or they went around it. Epiphany actually just felt pretty atrocious during those matches. While Koma is good enough on its own when it's good enough, and when it wasn't good enough, it was generally speaking because it was dying, not because we needed more snakes. So I don't even know that this appropriately snowballed this. I think if you want to be playing this card in this format, I would like Goldspan Dragon alongside it, and we had someone go over the top of us with like a Festivals deck. So I think that would be a direction I'd like to see more than what this is doing if I wanted to be rampy.